There I stood, boots sinking into the muddy ridge, staring down at the chaos I'd unleashed. Water roared through the valley, a merciless beast tearing apart the shiny new homes the HOA had dared to build on my land. Picture it. 58 houses, all those perfect lawns and picket fences, swallowed by a flood I didn't start but sure as hell didn't stop. You're probably wondering how a regular guy like me ended up drowning a whole suburb and why no one could do a damn thing about it. It all began with my granddad, Amos, who left me his land when he passed. This wasn't just any patch of dirt. It was a sprawling piece of the old country wild fields, thick woods you could get lost in, and at its heart, a mountain dam Amos built with his own hands after a flood nearly wiped this valley off the map. That dam wasn't just stone and earth. It was his defiance, his promise to never let the water win again. The will was ironclad. The land, the water rights, everything was mine, no strings attached. For a while, life was good. I worked my job in town, then spend weekends patching fences, walking the dam's crest, watching the mountains shift with the seasons. Trouble crept in quietly, like a snake in the grass. One day, a letter showed up in my mailbox, crisp and fancy with a gold logo, Pinecrest Homeowners Association. I wasn't part of any HME land, was outside town limits, protected by zoning fights Amos won decades ago. Or so I thought. The letter, all polite and smug, said my property was now under their community re-VYEW thanks to new county maps. I went from confused to pissed real quick. At the next town meeting, I saw a slick guy in a suit, hair gelled to perfection, flashing maps that show my land swallowed up by their Pinecrest expansion, like it was never mine. That's when I met Laura Hensley, HOA president, with a smile sharp enough to cut glass. She played dumb, said it was a survey error, all fixed now. I called bullshit, but the room just stared at me like I was the problem. Things moved fast after that. Surveyors stomped through my fields without so much as a hello. Neon flags sprouted like weeds, marking where roads and houses would go. Then the bulldozers came, ripping up the pasture where Amos taught me to ride. Before I could blink, they'd poured foundations for 58 luxury craftsman homes, banners flapping like they'd already won. I fought back, hired a lawyer, a decent guy named Tom, but even he got twitchy when he saw the names on the paperwork. County clerks dodged me. My complaints vanished into thin air. Laura smirked at every protest, her board members nodding like trained pets. They painted me as the crazy loner, clinging to old deeds while progress marched on. At the second town meeting, Laura had the nerve to suggest, all sweet and fake, that I take their generous buyout offer before I got left behind. I stood up, voice shaking but loud, and swore I'd never sell what my family built. Not for any price. That's when it got ugly. Fines for fake code, violations piled up. A sign appeared in my yard, declaring my own land a development Zanino trespassing. The sheriff's deputies just shrugged when I called. Every door I knocked on slammed shut. A clerk at the county office, one of the few who didn't hate me, tipped me off. Pinecrest was bankrolling council campaigns, buying zoning exceptions and fast-tracking permits. Laura wasn't just playing dirty, she was rigging the game. I was outmatched, outvoted, and damn near out of hope. So I did what Amos would have done. I got smart. I stopped fighting in public, stopped going to meetings, let Laura think she'd won. I nodded when she waved from her shiny SUV, all teeth and triumph. But while they celebrated breaking ground and selling lots, I was building a case. I snapped photos of every shortcut. They took bulldozed trees, ignored flood zones, water lines laid in shaky soil. I recorded conversations, saved letters, dug up shady permits from public archives. My granddad's old workshop under the dam became my war room, stacked with proof of their greed. See, they didn't just steal my land, they disrespected it. They built McMansions on flood basins without a single soil test. They paved over creeks, rerouted drainage, even nicked the dam's shoulder with a backhoe, too dumb to know they were poking a sleeping giant. That dam was Amos's masterpiece, built after a flood 80 years ago that drowned half the valley. He was no engineer, just a stubborn man who hauled stones for years to make sure it never happened again. It worked, Two kept the valley dry while other counties drowned. But Pinecrest? They saw it as an eyesore, something to flatten for cul-de-sacs and fountains. I didn't touch the dam after that backhoe hit. Didn't patch the leaks, didn't clear the silt. I let nature do what it does best. When the fall rains came, I watched puddles form in their perfect lawns. By spring, cracks spiderwebbed the dam's edge where they'd torn into it. I didn't break the law, I just stopped holding back the mountain. The HOA thought they'd beaten me, thought their signatures and blueprints on the land. They didn't know water doesn't care about paperwork. The first big storm hit like a warning shot, steady and mean. I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the valley disappear behind a wall of rain. Down in Pinecrest, porch lights blinked on, clueless. I knew the clay would swell, the topsoil would slide, and that dam, tired and wounded, wouldn't save them. Hour by hour, the water carved its old paths. Fissures split their sidewalks. Puddles turned to lakes in their basements. I passed Laura's mansion, all columns and fake brick, and saw her yelling into her phone, blaming everyone but herself. Construction crews scrambled, piling sandbags, digging trenches that only made it worse. It was almost poetic, watching their empire crumble under the rain. 3 days later, the second storm came, colder, angrier. I felt it before I saw Ida heave-ness in the air, like the mountain was holding its breath. The dam groaned, its cracks now scars, spitting muddy water. I stood on the ridge, rain stinging my face, and heard the earth rumble. Then it happened. The dam didn't explode outside. A slow, brutal collapse as water tore through the breach. Trees snapped like twigs. The flood roared down, straight for Pinecrest. In seconds, the first row of homes was gone, roofs floating, walls folding like paper. Streets split open, swallowing cars and mailboxes. Laura's house held on a moment longer, her screaming on the porch, phone still in hand. Then the water hit. Her lawn turned to soup. The house cracked in half, one side sliding into the flood, the other collapsing like a broken toy. It was over in minutes. Sirens wailed, too late. Crews waded through the muck, shouting into radios, but the mountain didn't care. I stayed dry, heart steady, watching from above. Part of me felt a pang those were homes, after all. But the louder part, the part that remembered Amos's hands shaping that dam, felt justice. I'd warned them. Months back, I'd filed notices about the dam's condition, the risks they were ignoring. I had receipts, notarized and time-stamped. Legally, I was clean. They'd laughed off my warnings, and now their greed was drowning them. The aftermath was a circus. News vans slogged through the mud, cameras eating up the wreckage. Headlines screamed negligence, tragedy. Laura, makeup gone, hair a mess, blamed the weather, but no one bought it. Investigations tore Pinecrest apart. Their paper trail kickbacks, fake reports, illegal permits was deeper than the flood. The state attorney general got involved, and lawsuits flew. Homeowners, developers, even banks turned on Laura and her board. Insurance companies called it an act of God and paid nothing. Laura's SUV was repossessed, her jewelry sold, her name a local joke. The other board members fled, bankrupt and disgraced. Pinecrest was condemned, a muddy ghost town. I filed for adverse possession, and no one fought me. Parcel by parcel, the land came back. I rebuilt the dam that summer, hauling stones with old-timers who remembered Amos's fight. It wasn't pretty, but it was strong. I let the fields go wild, let the creeks find their paths, let the deer and foxes return. On a crisp fall day, I sank a cedar post by the road and hung a sign, "Welcome to Stone Hollow. We respect the land." Below, in smaller letters, "Built by nature, guarded by memory." I sat on the dam's new crest one morning, coffee in hand, watching the sun burn off the mist. The valley glowed, scars fading under grass and time. I thought of Amos, his stubborn hope. I thought of the flood that took everything from him and the one that gave it all back to me. I thought of Laura, somewhere far off, choking on her bitterness. She'd built her kingdom on lies. I'd built mine on patience. Only one of us was still standing. The mountain hummed beneath me, not angry but content. It was a sound older than greed, older than lawsuits, a promise that the land endures if you listen. I raised my thermos to Amos, to the valley, to the future, and smiled as the sun lit Stone Hollow in a flood of gold. So what do you think? Was I a hero for letting nature take back what was mine, or a VY Lane for standing by while those homes washed away? Should I have fought harder in court, or was the flood the only language they'd understand? And what about Laura? Was she just a greedy opportunist, or did she believe she was building something good? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you felt the rush of that flood, and subscribe for more stories where the underdog bites back. Let's hear it. What would you have done?